There was one man named Abraham who did not believe that statues were really gods. He knew that God was the Creator and could not be worshipped through idols. God spoke to him, saying,
Abraham, leave this city of idolatry. Leave all of your family and country behind, and I will show you where to go. I will make you the father of a great nation. I will bless those that bless you, and I will curse those that curse you. In you, all of the nations of the earth will be blessed.
Could Abraham be the promised child who would destroy sin and death? Abraham knew that the voice he heard was the voice of God, so he obeyed, not knowing where he was going. He knew that he was leaving the idolatry behind and was following the living God. That was enough for Abraham. But he took his nephew Lot with him. Abraham's journey took him down into the land of Canaan, where Ham's son settled. Today it is called Palestine. There God spoke to him.
Abraham, walk through this land from one end to the other. I'm going to give all this land of Canaan to your future children. I will make you have so many children that they cannot be counted. They will multiply like the dust of the earth.
Sarah, God told me that you are going to have children after all these years.
You know that I have never been able to have a child, and now I am past childbearing age. How can I have children?
God said you would.
As Abraham traveled through the land, occasionally he stopped and offered a blood sacrifice to God. Like Abel, he made the sacrifice by faith, knowing that he was a sinner, deserving of death. The sacrifice of a lamb could not take away his sin, but when God saw Abraham's faith, God covered Abraham's sin. 10 years later.
Abraham, 10 years ago, you said God told you that I would bear your child. I am now 75, and you are 85. We grow older, but still no child. Soon you'll be too old to produce a child. Are you sure you heard from God?
I know it was God who spoke to me, but I do not understand why he waits so long. He said I would be the father of a great nation. But all I have is an old body, an old wife that cannot have children, and a great big flock of sheep.
Fear not, Abraham. I am your protection and your great reward.
What reward will you give me, since I have no child?
You and Sarah will have a child. Come, Abraham. Look at the stars and see if you can count them. Like the stars, your children will be so many that they cannot be counted.
I believe it will come to pass, as you say.
Since you believe me, I'm going to count your faith as if it were righteousness. Know of a certainty that your children will be strangers in a land that is not theirs. After they have suffered as slaves for 400 years, I will punish that nation, and your children will leave there with great wealth. Then they will come back here and inhabit this land.
Where is the promise of a child? I grow older by the day. Soon you will not be able to produce seed. Abraham, I will never be able to give you children. The custom of the land is that my servant girl can have a child for me. Abraham, don't you see this is our last chance to have a child? Before it is too late, you must take her and produce a child. It will be your seed. It is God's will. How else will you ever be the father of a great nation? It is the only way.
Abraham did not pray to God. He forgot the promise of God and obeyed the voice of his wife. Several months later,
I'm going to have Abraham's child.
When Hagar knew that she carried Abraham's child, she became proud and despised Sarah. Sarah grew unhappy with jealousy. Sarah made Hagar work hard and treated her unkindly. God never intended for a man to have two wives or to have children through a concubine.
When you are finished with the water, you can split the firewood.
Hagar made plans to run away. Hagar ran away from Sarah and fled into the wilderness. When she grew tired and could go no farther, she collapsed in exhaustion. God saw Hagar in her distress and spoke to her.
Hagar, return to Sarah and submit to her. You are going to have a son, and you will name him Ishmael, which means God hears. From him will come many children, more than can be numbered. Ishmael will be a wild man. He will always be fighting everybody, and everybody will be fighting him. He will always live close to all his brothers.
Hagar returned home, and in time the child was born.
God told me that since this child is Abraham's, he would be the father of many nations.
Ishmael later became the father of all Arabic nations. Abraham was 86 years old when Ishmael was born. Not long after Ishmael's birth, Abraham grew too old to produce children. Would Ishmael be the child God promised Abraham? But God said the child would come through Sarah and Abraham. How can God fulfill his promise if both Abraham and Sarah are too old to produce children? When Ishmael was 13 and Abraham was 99, God spoke to him again.
Abraham, I am the Almighty God. Do all that I tell you and sin not. As I told you before, I will multiply your children, and you will be the father of many nations. I will establish my covenant with you, and then with your children after you. I will give to your children the land of Canaan as a possession forever. Sarah will conceive and have the child as I promised, the one who is to be the head of many nations.
How can that be? I am now 99 years old, and Sarah is 89. My body is as good as dead. We cannot have children. Please, let Ishmael be the promised child.
No. As I said from the beginning, you and Sarah will have a child of your own, from your own bodies. The promise of blessing will be passed on through him, not Ishmael. In 1 year, Sarah will give birth to a male child.
Is it possible? Yes. The God who created the human body can surely take two old dead bodies and make them fertile again. Sure, God can do it.
A few days later, 3 men appeared out of the desert. They did not look as if they had traveled far, nor did they appear to be local. They were strong, confident, and ageless. Abraham watched them approach and knew they were different. But what he didn't know is that his visitors were not from this world. 2 of them were righteous angels, and the third was God himself, appearing in angelic form so he could talk to Abraham. Abraham went out to meet them.
Abraham, your wife Sarah will have a son.
As old as I am, and Abraham even older, could I have pleasure again?